A very good evening and thanks for clicking on to the Thursday edition of Vogan's European Outlook. Before we get into the video, be sure to like, share with your friends and family and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already done so. I do very much appreciate that. It was a very cold morning once again across Scandinavia with temperatures dropping down to minus 32 Celsius in parts of western Sweden this morning, as you can see here of the Meteor Seal website, and temperatures as of recording are fairly chilly, as you can see here, widespread below freezing across many areas of Norway, Sweden and Finland. So the chill remains in place up here as we approach the end of the opening month of meteorological spring. Of course, we're just approaching the month of April, which is just remarkable to think of, really, when you think about that. This is the current temperatures across Europe, and it is mild for the majority, with the exceptions of Scandinavia. We have had the warmest day, I believe, of the year so far for many portions of the British Isles. Temperatures into the 30s once again across eastern Spain, as you can see here, widespread teens across the north of France into the Low Countries, Germany, and into Poland also here. Looking specifically at the British Isles, and you can see here that we are talking about temperatures as high as 14 degrees in the north of Scotland, as high as 17 degrees, as you can see here. Parts of Northern Ireland seeing the warmest day so far, and also across East Anglia, where we've got several spots hitting the 17 Celsius mark, probably seen somewhere reach 18 Celsius this afternoon, I would imagine. Temperatures reached the above 15 Celsius here at the house. My very short record of recording here at the house. This is the warmest day of the year so far, and it's only going to continue to rise as we go forward, of course. But I'm very, very hard at work at the moment putting together my April forecast. So over the next 12 hours or so, I should have this released on markvoganweather.com. I will have a link in the description below. I go into quite a lot of detail with regards to the March that we've just seen, comparing that to recent Marches also. It's likely, I believe anyway, according to one source out of the Met Office, I believe the month of March will wind out just a fraction below average for 2023. So I'm quite reasonably happy with that. I did, of course, call for a colder than average March. It looks as if it's going to be marginally below average, probably a fraction of a degree below the average. So yeah, pretty much average, I suppose, when you think about it. But it's stark contrast to the warm February that we had. The rainfall aspect is probably the most notable aspect of this March. One of the wettest Marches on record, I think, for parts of England and Wales, where we've had the greatest anomalies compared to normal, and actually slightly drier than average across the northwest of Scotland here. That is in complete contrast to February, where it was wettest across the northwest, driest across the southeast. We've just flipped it around completely during the month of March. So this is the unfinished article, so to speak, looking at rainfall temperature for the month of March versus previous Marches. And of course, I still have yet to produce the April outlook here. But generally speaking, I do think we're going to have a drier April. Whether it's drier than average remains to be seen, but I definitely think we're going to have a bit of a flip around from very dry February, very wet March, possibly a drier than average April. Temperature-wise, I think it could go either way. Bang on average, slightly below average, or slightly above average. I don't think it's going to be an off-the-scale warm April, and I don't think it's going to be a particularly dramatic cold April either. Looking at the precipitation, this is off the GFS, the latest run of the GFS for total accumulated rainfall for the first half of April. And one standout thing for me here, folks, is Yes, we do have rainfall in the forecast, and a lot of that's going to be actually in the next few days with an area of low pressure moving in. We will talk about that in just a second. But notice here that the bulk of heaviest precip is actually over Central and Eastern Europe here. We have a lot less rainfall across the British Isles versus what we've seen so far this month. So that already is a bit of a standout difference in terms of precipitation distribution. Looking at the CFSV2, and you can see here the upcoming 7 days, the focus of heaviest precip across more central and southern portions of the UK. Ireland looks as if it's wetter than average, and indeed central Scotland down to the south coast into the north and central France, into the heart of Europe is wetter than average. Notice here it's drier than average as we focus the storm track further south. We've got this displacement of the storm track further south, hence why we've got this deep area of low pressure that's riding the jet stream west to east. It initially started off as an area of thunderstorms over the southeastern United States. That area of thunderstorms produced deadly tornadoes over the weekend across the southeastern United States. That then feature moved down the Atlantic, rode a pretty strong Atlantic jet, very flat nature, very straight lined. And if you look at the Met Office deep dive from a couple of days ago, Aidan McGivern does a terrific job at explaining the dynamics as to what's happened. That area of low pressure skipped from the south to the north, the cold side of the jet stream. That's allowed that system to deepen, and then it's going to spread its wind and rain across the far south of the British Isles over the next 24 hours or so. But you notice the difference in the 7 to 14 or the 8 to 14 day period. We go to a drier theme, and then that drier theme continues into the second half of April and even into the end of April. This is week 3 and 4. You can see here that we've got that dry theme maintaining itself. I think we're going to have a drier than average April, temperature wise, close to average, and it could go either way, either above or below average. This is the overview chart here, so you can see that area of deep low pressure now starting to make its approach on the southwestern British Isles. On the southern flank of that area of low pressure, we have got quite a squeeze in isobars. So we have got essentially the strongest winds will remain offshore as this area of low pressure peaks in depth, intensity offshore, which is a good thing, of course. And then it's as we progress through the night tonight, we'll see the initial rain band moving in, and then the core of strongest winds, according to the latest run of the GFS, looks to stay off the English coast. And it looks as if it's going to be through the Channel and in the northern portion of France. That's where we're going to see the strongest wind gusts here. We are going to see an additional 25 to 50, locally 75 millimeters of rain, so it's going to increase the rain totals that we've already seen across the southern half of the British Isles, and this could wind up one of the wettest Marches on record. I believe for parts of London it's the wettest since 2001, and interestingly enough, we've had the coldest temperatures during the start of the month since 2001 as well, so that's quite interesting to see the correlation to 2001 here. But it looks as if, to me, that once that feature moves to the east, we've got a little bit of an easterly component to the wind. Water temperatures are at their coldest of the year, so we're going to be pulling in quite a nagging, quite a chilly easterly wind, so it's going to make it feel very, very much different tomorrow afternoon at 3 p.m. as opposed to 3 p.m. this afternoon, 16, 17 degrees in parts of East Anglia, Lincolnshire, Yorkshire. The temperatures could be pegged back at 9, 10, 11 Celsius. Factor in a breeze coming in at 25 miles an hour. It will feel distinctly chilly out there with that wind crossing over those cold waters of the North Sea. We'll play through the loop here. That area of low pressure then kind of starts to pivot into the near continent, spreading wind, rain, and even some mountain snow. We notice here higher pressure building in underneath that high pressure. Light winds, clear skies mean we could have frosty nights returning once again. Pleasant by day and chilly by night. Of course, we've got this time of the year now Nights are shortening, days are becoming longer, but we have that increased diurnal fluctuation between nighttime temperatures and daytime temperatures. You can go well below freezing in the countryside at nighttime, but then of course under that sunshine during the afternoon you can rise into the 10 to 15 Celsius range quite easily actually at this time of the year. We continue to play through the loop. You notice here that higher pressure is the dominant player. We do have a frontal system seen by the GFS moving in, but it looks as if high pressure wants to regenerate, rebuild back over the British Isles once again, and that looks to be the theme as we go into the month of April overall. We may see some little shots of colder conditions as well. So we're going to see this kind of fluctuation in temperature, but I think the overall take home from today's video is the drier theme looks more likely as we go through the month of April. Stay tuned to markvoganweather.com. I will have the April outlook hopefully by the end of tonight, if not tomorrow morning. And indeed, there's a lot of things to keep it right here on the channel for building my summer forecast and whatnot. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching. Hopefully be back again tomorrow with more, and see you again hopefully tomorrow. Bye for now.